Gurubhyo Namaha. Part 9, Achara, Chapter 30. Things to be done immediately. I can foresee your likely reactions to my saying this. How can everyone become a Vedic, especially when considering the way the world is moving these days? What is the use of talking about things completely impossible? If you ask me like that, let me tell you something feasible and possible. But what I'm going to tell you now should be put into practice immediately. There are some people presently called Vedic who are standing apart from the society. They are made to feel isolated by others on the one hand, and on the other, are feeling inferiority complex. I am interested in changing that state of affairs. Yes, I agree that you cannot give up your school and college education. You cannot give up your company or office or businesses or trades or professions as long as it is not skullduggery. Let them do their own thing, but let them spend an hour together as a family every day in the morning or evening in prayers. Bath, wear clean clothes, and apply some vibhuti, ashes, or namam. Meet in a common place, do Veda Abhyasam or learn shlokas or sing bhajans. Others who are not Brahmins should also get fully integrated in this effort. There is an ocean of literature in all our Indian languages of exceptional literary and religious merit. For example, there is wonderful Thevaram, Tiruvasagam, and Nalayira Divya Prabandham in Tamil. These could be learnt by children of all castes. It is very important to inculcate this interest from childhood. All children could learn Sanskrit too, since all the Shastras are in that language only. Instead of listening to others' interpretation of what is in our Shastras, over a lifetime we can learn about the greatness of our religion ourselves. So the younger generation, though may not be able to follow a total Vedic Achara Anushtana procedure, will at least have some love and respect for our religious and cultural heritage. This arrangement may motivate at least some to adopt a 100% Vedic package. The profession of Purohitam will regain relevance and respect. Those Shastris and Pandits of today who are convinced that their profession is in the throes of death due to irrelevance and irreverence may be motivated to let their sons continue the line. Thus, when the children are initiated into the ideas of early morning bath, muddy adhyayanam, learning the shlokas in Tamil and Sanskrit, singing of bhajan songs and visit to temples, automatically bad habits will dwindle. When you tell them, do not go here or do not do this or do not eat such and such, the general tendency is to do the forbidden. Once you start the child in good acharas, bad habits will be avoided. Even if they show a tendency to go astray, others already deeply rooted in such habits are likely to tell him nudgingly to get back. Discipline has to be inculcated by root and not by instructions. What we said about children is equally applicable to grown ups too. They should also stop going about to tennis court, billiards room, bar, cinema, bridge, and rummy. Instead, they should make an effort to learn about the Vedas, Shastras and Puranas and practice the acharas as far as possible. At the least, after retirement from service, instead of looking for extension, re-employment and starting one's own business, they should start living strictly by the Shastras and Acharas so as to find one's real moorings as well as be a role model for others. 31. Benefits of control. We should not be afraid that living by the Shastras would mean too much of discipline and control. Claiming ourselves to be in a world of freedom and free will, cutting off all our moorings, what have we achieved? Like the occasional bright spots under a tree, whose leaves are not letting the sun's rays through under eternal pressure of unknown fears and risks of a variety of possible diseases and expenditure, we experience flashes of thrill and cheap pleasure by this so-called freedom of ours. This freedom, scientific discoveries, and material advancement have not been able to take us any closer to the real peace or bliss. Do these freedom and scientific discoveries have the power to identify the reasons and cause for sorrow in this world? They do not go to the core of the problem, but only keep increasing the disparities and emphasizing the greed for more. Can they undo the damages that they are creating on this earth, in the atmosphere, in the outer environment, and more so in the inner world of ours? Now, let us look back to our elders. They could cut down on their sins, lessen the sorrows, and increase the wholesomeness and contentness of their lives by following the behavioral patterns, that is, acharas, that they evolved. We can say with certainty that our forefathers in this country lived a life of plenty, satisfaction, and bliss of artistic, altruistic, and cultural achievements. More than the greatness of monuments, it is their achievements in the fields of arts, fine arts, literature, dance, drama, and especially philosophy that bear out the truth of my statement. More than all, it is the message of universal love borne out by the Vedas, Shrutis, and Smritis that sets this Sanatana Dharma of Hinduism apart. If you mull over this deeply, you will realize that this freedom of thought, speech, and actions are actually the binding factors that prevent us from moving towards real freedom and keeps us tied down in sins and sorrows. Similarly, the Shastras, which seem to be very restrictive, in reality are the gateways for the heaven. They are restrictions paving the way for real independence. There used to be some gypsy artists called Thambakutandi. Stambam in Sanskrit is a pillar. This man used to be tied with many ropes with many knots. They will cover him with a screen for a split second. Within that, he will be rid of his binding ropes and will be seen to be free in a flash. Not only that, within another split second, he will be seen to be tied again to another pillar with all the knots. He knew such a trick. First time when he is tied, he will keep his body, hands, and legs in an expanded posture. The moment the screen is on, he will shrink his body to let all the ropes fall to the ground. The process is reversed for the second part of the show. As the knots loosen when the body is shrunk, by shrinking our huge ego, all the binding ties of life are loosened. Shastras tie us up from above. As we mature in self-discipline, these ties will be seen to be enabling us to shrink our egos. It is our ahankara, arrogance, conceit, expanded posture that is the cause for binding knots. The acharas are the tightening ropes over them, enabling us to loosen the inner ego, shrunk posture. Then all the ties will be apparently no more binding and will be really free of all the ties. That is the Atma Swatantram, that is real inner freedom. Call it the path of karma or bhakti or jnana or yoga, all the approaches are meant to control this mind of ours and take us to manonasa, that is mindlessness. So whatever the restrictions by any of the approaches have to be done strictly as per the Shastras. Not only pujas and other ceremonial procedures, starting from brushing the teeth and bathing in the morning to going to sleep in the night, if all our activities are as per the Shastras, by the dint of rote, the mind will be annulled to surrender. Instead of going astray while being unaware of it, we will come to the right path, equally unaware of mastering the mind in the process. Acharya's help in thrift is a point that comes up here again. All our unnecessary expenses are due to catering for the multivarious small and big desires of the mind. The taste buds on the tongue are the rocks which inspire you to eat all sorts of things. If that was one sense, think of what can be the effect when all the five senses are pulling us in all directions for more and more exotic sights smells, sounds, taste, and touch. So, to satisfy those desires, we get ready to take up any profession, role, or work in any place in this country or anywhere, however much it may be against the observance of the acharas. How does it matter whether you are working under the fisheries department in India or under Kentucky Fried Chicken in US of America? Oh God, it is not correct for us to be eating this. It is a sin to be doing this. With such thoughts, if we look into the Shastras and cut down on the desires of the mind, we will automatically cut down on our expenses. Within the locality, we will lead a life of absolute simplicity. The mind, relieved of all its prevarications, would be able to concentrate on more important and nobler pursuits. When unnecessary wasteful expenditure of time and resources are cut, that would enable us to spend all the time in Atma Vichara. For variety and variation, one could always visit places of religious merit. When we visit such places with other devotees, such action will give us greater pleasures than any other type of entertainment. Bhajans, Harikatha, Kalakshepam, and Utsavas in temples and such activities will certainly give qualitatively far superior pleasure and satisfaction that all the cinemas and than all the cinemas and clubs. Chapter 32, Treatise on Achara. For more than 2 generations, all these acharas are getting ignored. Ever since English based education became the criteria for employment, Brahmins have hogged the limelight and grabbed most of the available jobs from Indian civil service to Tehsildars to the exalted clerk in the lowly arm of bureaucracy at the village level. Now, if you tell us to follow the acharas in our households, even elders are not aware of what these are supposed to be, is the complaint from ladies. Whosoever is your family Vadyar or Srautigal, he is the person to approach on this. There are the following books available. A. Smriti Mukta Phalam, known more popularly as Vaidyanatha Dikshiteyam, in 6 parts, which is very exhaustive. B. Gautama Dharma Sutram. C. Bodhayana Dharma Sutram. Note, these 3 are published by Veda Dharma Shastra Paripalana Sabha, Kumbakonam. Then there are some more books, Dharma Shastra Surukam by R. Muthuswami Iyer, publisher K. M. Nagaraj Iyer, Kil Vidyayal, Kurupur, Kadaivasal, Tanjavur district. B. Sadacharam by Srivatsa Somadeva Sharma, publisher Bhavani Book Center, 19 Station Road, Chennai, 33. C. Shaivam, Nitya Konma Neri, Dharmapuram Adinam, Dharmapuram, Mailadudari. D. Vainavam, Sri Vaishnava Nitya Anushtana Krabam, publisher Lifco, T. Nagar, Chennai, 17. Very old books in Tamil have spoken in detail about Vedic daily rituals. There is a book known as Achara Kovai. In it, starting with Tirukural, Nanneri, Avvai Padalgal, Aranneri Charam, while giving detailed notes on the daily rituals. All the concepts of Shastras are literally translated and given in a book called Nidhi Venba. In the olden times, whenever there was mention of a king's rule in books, Puranas literature or etched on metal plates or inscribed on temple walls, they all invariably mention that he ruled over the kingdom without any let in the rules and regulations as per Manu, maintaining law and order as per the Varna Ashrama system, ensuring that proper acharas are maintained meticulously. The book Achara Kovai that I mentioned not only lists all the daily acharas but also clearly states as to how each action is to be done with reason why. Now you will be further surprised that this book has a place of eminence in the Tamil literature. There are 18 books of literary merit, highly regarded under the name Padinen Kizhkanakku. One amongst those 18 books in the famous Tirukural and Achara Kovai is another. Now you will be able to understand as to how eminently important it is. Tamilians can get to know everything about Acharas by reading that book. Chapter 33. The greatness of the past and present days depravity. There is no doubt that our forefathers were very healthy, full of vim and vigor, with brilliance of brains, effulgence of the inner self, power of the mantras they chanted, with the quiet contentness and peacefulness of the soul evident to all, especially the foreign visitors. Comparatively today, we are full of all sorts of diseases with no name or fame to talk of, followers of all and sundry in the lower rankings in all walks of life. The reason for this state of affairs is clearly the fact that we have given up our achara anushtanas as being too difficult to follow. In the bargain, we have come to accept much greater difficulties in our day to day life. Once we understand that this is the reason, we can turn a corner and restart doing those things which we gave up thinking them to be too tough. Initially, it may be tough, but in a short while, we will come to realize that our acharas are meant to benefit us in this life as well as in our later lives. They are not the trouble creators but are highly beneficial in the material as well as the spiritual life of ours. Getting up at 4 in the morning, taking a cold water bath, doing the prata, Sandhya Vandanam, giving argyam as the eastern horizon turns red at Arunodayam, doing Gayatri Japam till sunrise, then do Aupasanam, Puja, Madhyanikam, Vaishwadevam, Atiti Satkaram, then take the day's food, which is Satvikam, that is not very spicy and titillating the senses. Similarly, in the evening, taking a bath, doing the Sayam Sandhya Vandanam, giving argyam to the sun god at the time of setting of the sun, then chant the Gayatri mantra till the stars become visible, then Agnihotram, Deva Alaya Darshanam, and our hearing of Puranas and have a light dinner before going to sleep. Such a life has a pleasant aura about it with blissful happiness as the main content. Instead of being dirty, cribbing, and fretting, scheming somebody's downfall or exploitation of someone else all of the time. Such distasteful, unwanted activities do not lead to fulfillment either, resulting in nightmares. You have to search for satisfaction elsewhere. So your sleep is spoiled. You do not feel like getting up till even 8 in the morning, groggy eyed with a possible hangover. As against this, our man living strictly by the dictates of the acharas has got up at Pancha Pancha Ushat Kale and has got going with the next day's activities already for 4 hours. Their inner satisfaction and contentedness was due to observing the acharas meticulously. They were mentally and physically hale and healthy. Pancha Pancha Ushat Kale is the early morning time around 4 a.m. when the birds are still hesitant as to whether they should start chirping or not at the night sky has and the night sky has not yet started brightening. They were individually keeping themselves pure in mind and heart, not letting any corruption touch them. By their personal purity, they were contributing for the society's purity also. As against that, today we are corrupt, polluted, and besmirched. In the name of social awareness and universal brotherhood, we are not only losing our pristine quality but corrupting the whole society. We pay for washing the clothes in the laundry. Then we wear those clothes for days together without washing again. So it adds the theatre of our own bodily sweat, contact with others in various level of teeth, in the bus, train, and so on. No regular bathing, eating all sorts of things in all sorts of hotels, dhabas, tea stalls, and elsewhere, spending our precious time in cinema and reading gossip and novels. Then we have the conceit that we are very modern, up to date, who has left behind all blind beliefs. Even on a cursory glance, we cannot but help noticing that we are on the wrong path, going down the vicious cycle. We have to turn the corner before it is too late. What is the real state of affairs? We have to simply open our eyes to the reality. Our ancestors have laid a right royal path for us to follow, with no potholes and not too many ups and downs. Instead of thinking that we are pioneers trail blazing in a new world, we should come to realize that in addition to spoiling ourselves, we are corrupting the way for generations to come. When we have shown no respect to our ancestors, what prevents the next generation from jettisoning us and our ideas out of hand? Let us just now retrace our paths and make amends. We have almost reached the stage of Kan Kettapin Surya Namaskaram. Surya Namaskaram is a wholesome exercise done while facing the early morning sun, comprising many asanas combined in one, accompanied with the mantras addressed to the sun god for physical fitness and overall good health. The proverb says, what is the purpose of doing Surya Namaskaram when you have become blind already? We have to make amends before we reach such a stage. The patient is in his last stage. It is time that we give him oxygen and revived him. The very fact that one has reached this worst condition should give us the lesson that we should recover from here, for which we should start working sincerely. Looking at other countries suffering, if we keep copying their mistakes, it is a greater insult to our very being, because their ancestors have not endowed them with the sort of prophylactic drills as our ancestors have done. Their giving us the acharas in book forms is not as great as their having lived exemplary lives for generations worthy of emulation. They have proved by living such a life that it is practical and that we will be doubly foolish to ignore such a legacy. Chapter 34, Shastras. I think that I should explain this point further. I talked of living an exemplary life and about writing a book. Yes, there are many books of Shastras delineating on our daily and periodic rituals. But the point to note here is that these rituals did not come into being after someone wrote them down. The rituals had been perfected, refined, improved upon by generations of ancestors much before the books were ever written. That means that much before the books were ever written as Shastras, the Acharas had been evolved by heuristic methods to perfection. You cannot pick holes in this ever. That is what has been written for the sake of future generations as Shastras. Life was not conducted as per Shastras. Shastras were written as per what was practically done in life. Whether you take the Manusmriti or Apastamba or Asvalayana Sutras or the compendiums known as Nibandhana Granthas, they have not claimed authorship or copyright for even a small fraction of their huge efforts. They do not claim to have made even a single small rule of their own. They have clearly stated that they have only collected and collated the existing rules, regulations, methods, and practices. This is the wonder. The Hindu religion is known as Sanatana Dharma. It means everlasting, eternal, meritorious customs and or practices. True to that definition, before the books came into being, our lives had already been well regulated into orderly sequence for individual and collective advancement from chaos to clarity. Who created Panchakacham? Who inaugurated Achamanam of 3 sips of water, uttering Keshavaya Namaha, Madhavaya Namaha, Govindaya Namaha? No one can answer these questions. They have been doing these things from time immemorial. From the time this world came into being, they have been in touch with the omniscient, omnipotent power in being. So they always knew as to what is the method by which they could extricate themselves from our involvement with this material world to gravitate surely and certainly towards eternal, permanent, daily bliss. They showed the way by living. Their methods and procedures have become embedded in our conscience and registered in the Shastras as the ways of Dharma and Achara. Who laid this path of Sanatana Dharma Anushtana? No one can answer that, but we know that there is a path. That is why this Hindu Dharma has been compared to a foot track. You can see the path existing. No one can say as to who laid it first. About other roads, such as a tar road or a highway, you may be able to answer the questions as to who got it laid or when. So and so councillor made plans, so and so commissioner sanctioned, so many worked for so many days, and so on. Like the broadening and modernizing the highways in India from just 2 lanes to 4 lanes with service tracks on either side was the pioneering work of Atal Bihari Vajpayee. You cannot do that you cannot do that with a foot track. It was never planned. Other roads are used after they are made. This one has happened by the fact of its being used for moving. The rules and regulations in this are not laws after enactment, but laws that have evolved by being acted upon. All other religious laws have been made after due deliberation on them by some set of people. They are well planned. You can move fast on them. Your footpath cannot take such traffic. Yes, but the point is that we do not require special funds for its maintenance. Other roads get worn out by usage. The foot track gets strengthened by usage. Other roads planned cannot match its longevity and resilience. That is how the old religions of the Greeks, the Hebrews, and the Confucianism have all dissipated and disintegrated into bygones, whereas the Sanatana Dharma of Hinduism of daily and periodical acharas have carried on relentlessly. Maybe you cannot travel fast here, but not required to. Those who arrive real fast do not opt for fame and name. There can be accidents en route in other highways. Here there can never be an accident. Sometimes this may be faster too by being a shortcut. Even if we accept the modern historian's assessment, Vedic civilization is possibly as old as 3000 BC. We have no business to go against what has gone on for so many generations. Not only have we reneged on the legacy, we are creating insurmountable problems for the future generations. If we do not use it, the footpath will get covered and forgotten. Is it not so? God, the ever compassionate, should save us from this heinous sin of closing the past to the future. At least now we should think of all this and return to our old ways. May God bless us with sense to do so. Om Shri Mahaperiva Charanam.